All right, I apologize, everyone. I'm just having difficulty advancing our slides. There we go. All right, so welcome to today's webinar on LBS and skilled trades training, a model for collaboration. We're so glad to see that so many of you have been able to join us today. We have a fantastic session lined up for you and some incredible resources to share with you. My name is Jan Gourley, and I'm a project manager at Literacy Link South Central, also known as LLSC. We are the regional literacy network for the Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford, Brant, Haldimand, and Norfolk region. And I'm managing the Step Up and Succeed Apprenticeship Skill Development Fund project with support from the Ministry of Labor, Immigration Training, and Skill Development that's bringing us together today. I'll also be your host for our panel discussion today, and my colleague Jeff is also joining us to offer support for today's session. You won't see him, but he's in the background supporting the chat and the other things that are going on behind the scenes. So as we're getting started today, I want to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I'd like to take a moment to recognize, respect, and acknowledge the importance of the lands which we all call home. Today, let's reaffirm our commitment and responsibility to improve relationships between nations and our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. Let's remind ourselves that wherever we are, we live on the ancestral and unceded territory of Inuit, Métis, and First Nations peoples. As you're all aware, today's session is being recorded and it is going to be posted in the LBS Apprenticeship Toolkit on LLSC's website, and I'll have more on that for you later in the session. We'll also be sharing a PDF copy of the slide deck of today's presentation in the toolkit and in the chat. And speaking of the chat, we do welcome your questions. So throughout the presentation, feel free to enter any questions you may have into the chat window, and Jeff will be glad to answer your questions or read them aloud during our question and answer period later in our presentation. You're also welcome to hold your questions and ask them yourself during the Q&A period. We'll do our best to address questions before today's session is over. Today's agenda includes sharing information on why we're talking about collaboration between LBS programs and skilled trades trainers, introductions to our 4 fabulous guest speakers who've graciously given us their time to join us today, a panel discussion with our 4 guest speakers, a Q&A session following that discussion, and then we'll be sharing some final details with you, including information about the LBS toolkit that I mentioned earlier. So why should we be concerned about collaboration between LBS programs and skilled trades trainers? Well, we do know that Ontario is facing a crisis in the skilled trades. Government representatives, are telling us that by 2025, Canada's labor shortage is expected to be 1.2 million, with 40% of those jobs being in the skilled trades. Statistics Canada is also telling us that reports on potential labor shortages in the skilled trades have been presented by many organizations, think tanks, and government agencies. As an example of what they're reporting, more than 245,100 construction workers are expected to retire by 2032, creating a shortfall of just over 61,400 workers. And the number of working age, so those 25 to 64 years old, apprenticeship certificate holders have either stagnated or decreased in critical fields. Those include construction, mechanic and repair technologies, and precision production. When our systems collaborate, support each other, and share knowledge, it creates better support for learners in the system. The staff and facilitators of both LBS programs and training delivery agents, so trainers, also known as TDAs, increase their own knowledge, can offer more robust and contextualized learning, and improve the full wraparound support that LBS learners, pre-apprentices, and apprentices often need. We know that early intervention for learners who face barriers and challenges is crucial. The sooner that they receive support, the more that successful outcomes increase. Existing collaborations between LBS and TDA programs are proving this. Many of the TDAs and LBS programs we've spoken with are reporting 100% success rate for the learners and pre-apprentice candidates at TDA programs that are being supported using this collaborative approach. So, as I mentioned, we've brought our 4 guest speakers together today to inspire you to do this work in your area. We recognize that LBS programs and training delivery agents each have unique programs and therefore different capacities and methods by which they do their work. We've intentionally sought diverse representation, understanding that not everything we talk about today will apply to your program, but that some of the things that we share will hopefully inspire and inform you. So without further ado, I'd like to ask each of our guest speakers to take 2 to 3 quick minutes to introduce themselves, the programs they work for, and maybe share an example of a collaboration they've been part of and the success that they've experienced. So Alicia, I'm going to start with you, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alicia Stewart. I'm the program coordinator with Brant Skills Center. We are a community-based LBS program in Brantford. I've been with Brant Skills Center about 7 years now and done a lot of trade stuff. But my background was originally in psychology, and I love learning about the ways that an individual's circumstances, their health, their background, their educational experiences can really influence their learning. And I think that's something that is really interesting in LBS, that we get to hear those stories and figure out how we can support learners. But when it comes to trades, this is an area that was surprising to me because I don't know about some of you, but when I was in high school, we were told it's university or it's college. Those are your best options. I didn't even really know a lot about trades, and I did have my own preconceived notions about what a tradesperson does, what a tradesperson looks like, sounds like. None of that is true any longer, and I've learned a lot about it. So we now understand that skilled trades are important to our workforce, and they include a lot more than the traditional skilled trades people like construction and carpentry that you may think of. I mean, the list of trades, we've now got 140 some odd trades now, which is just amazing. And it can appeal to so many different people, and they're valuable to our workforce, as I said. So I really like that we're now able to see more representation of various genders, ages, newcomers joining the trades, etc. And it's been really cool to see how LBS has been part of getting those people ready for that as well. So today I'm grateful for the introduction. I'm excited to talk about the connection of LBS and the skilled trades. And I'm excited to represent Brant Skills Center as the community-based speaker today, and how we help people upgrade on the apprenticeship goal path. Very quickly talking about some partnerships that have gone well for us. I would say our main one right now is the Six Nations Polytechnic. We do primarily work with the Brantford campus and have a long-standing relationship with them. Lots of programs like soft skills, numeracy, digital skills, but really our biggest one and ongoing partnership involves document use upgrading for the trades. Welders, machinists, cooks, etc. We help them get ready and be able to use complex documents, and this benefits them in their programming. We all love the follow-ups in LBS, or we say we love the follow-ups. They have actually been a great tool for us to get feedback from those past apprentices, now apprentices, saying the training really does support their long-term success and feeling like a lifelong learner. Instead of just going right in, they get that prep. So, as a community-based organization and representing that, I love that we can quickly respond to the needs of both the learners and also the TDAs, or the training delivery agents, to make sure that they're getting what they need. So yeah, I'm excited about the panel. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll let you go on to the next person.
Thank you so much, Alicia. All right, next I'd like to invite Angela, please.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angela Parkin. I am the Literacy and Basic Skills and Learner Intake Manager for the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. I've been working in LBS for 14 years now, in both community and school board settings. So it's nice to kind of see the different ways that LBS is working within the community. In the last 6 years, I have started to partner. I've always loved these sort of community partnerships and targeted training, or what we call targeted trainings, or this short-term program approach. But in the last 6 years, I've been able to partner more with pre-apprenticeship programs to deliver part of their program, usually with math upgrading. But I always love these programs because it allows you to interact with the community and different organizations in a different way than our what I call core LBS programs do, and really hear what's happening out in the community and what the needs are, and get to meet so many different people along the way. A couple examples of our partnerships is our longest standing one is with Career Foundation. We've done this for about 6 years now. The target group is youth for this particular program, and youth going into carpentry. And for this program, we run a 1 week intensive math upgrading program. It's the start of the whole pre-app program. So it's a good way to get people right in there into the math. And a lot of people feel nervous about the math, so it's good to kind of address that early on. And it's also a good way to interact with the partner because they are just getting to know the participants as well. So they often like to be on hand in the program, so you get a good opportunity to connect with them. We would cover really whatever's needed. It could be from, math from place value all the way up to basic trigonometry. Usually we start a little bit later, but it really depends on what the assessments are. So I think that's always helpful so that the TDA can see sort of the flexibility and range of LBS. And so that usually runs in May. One other program partnership is with the YWCA. And we do a couple partnerships with them, some math upgrading that are 2 week blocks for people who identify as women, non-binary or trans, which is awesome to get to help individuals who would face barriers in the trades to get their footing. And one other program that we run with the YWCA is for construction craft worker. We've run 2 cohorts so far. We tend to get sort of every other year funding for these. So we've run 2 cohorts, but we've been working together for like 3 or 4 years now. And that is a combination of math and communication. And for the construction craft worker program, that's actually a skills development funding, but it supports individuals who identify as having a disability or struggle with mental health. So it's a good opportunity to really give them lots of support as they're entering the workforce and trying to work through some of the challenges that they've had with that. And we would cover usually slower paced math. For them, it covered the same range of skills and communication. It could be things like emails, professionalism, body language, conflict resolution in the workplace. So we get to do quite a variety of things with that group in the longer stretch of time.
Great. Thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate that. And Megan, you're up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Megan Quinnell, and I'm the manager of Durham College's School College Work Initiative and Academic Upgrading departments. So our team has been involved in 2 initiatives, really, that support learners in accessing skilled trades training and apprenticeship opportunities. We're really thankful to Jan for giving us the opportunity to sort of share about our partnerships and the targeted programming that we're doing. So over the years, we've had the complete privilege of collaborating with these TDAs. So we have an advantage, certainly being a college, because Durham College Whitby campus is a TDA, but we've also worked with the Millwright Regional Council of Canada. And these partnerships have really been instrumental, like you're hearing from the other LBS agencies, in bridging that gap for underrepresented groups in entering the skilled trades. So 2 quick examples of some of the work that we've done. The first is our millwrighting program. So we have a partnership with the Millwright Regional Council of Canada, UBC Millwright Local 2309 Toronto, and Local 1410 Kingston, where we run a specialized program for cohorts of women and Indigenous learners. So in terms of LBS, what are we doing? Participants go through a foundational upgrading via LBS training, and then they do some skills training that's provided to them by the council. So these learners write an aptitude test, and the success on this test allows them to enter their apprenticeship programmers with contractors like OPG and Black and Mac. So to date, we've run 5 cohorts of this millwright program, and I'm really proud to say that we've achieved a 100% success rate on the aptitude tests. So that's really what's enabling our participants to take the next step in their skilled trades journey. As for the pre-apprenticeship programs, so like I said, we've also had great success with the pre-apprenticeship programs in collaboration with Durham College Whitby campus. So over the years, we've supported various cohorts. We've done cohorts in women in welding. We've done cohorts for newcomers in electrical, Indigenous learners who are interested in plumbing, and we're providing that upfront LBS support, helping the learners get moving with those foundational skills that they really need to sort of thrive in their training programs and beyond. So, as I'm sure everybody shares the same sentiment, it's really rewarding to watch our participants gain the confidence that they need, achieve their goals, and get involved on, in a very meaningful career. So, thanks for allowing us, Jan, to take the opportunity to share our experiences, and I'm sure we'll all learn a lot.
Thank you so much, Megan. All right, and Carmelo, that leaves you to please introduce yourself and round out our introductions.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me. Training director here at LIUNA 625, and we've had a great partnership with LBS for the last five cohorts. So about 3 years. We got introduced to this in 2021. It was brought up at a training directors meeting, and London was partnering up with LBS, and I thought this was a great opportunity. So reached out to Andrea Dickinson and then Sally McDonald, and they set us up. We had some more, meetings, and we're off to races in 2022. So we've had 5 pre-apprentice classes, full soft skills development program with some math, and yeah, I think it's worked out really good. We've had success in a way that I asked the apprentices 2 years later how it was and how it affected them on the job sites. And, they all appreciate it, and they all say that this is an important program in the pre-apprenticeship program. So good feedback. Even today, I asked today just before the meeting, because we got the graduates here on their last year, and we do a construction craft worker level 1 and 2. And, I just threw it out there before lunch, and yeah, they, gave me stories of how they thought twice how to respond, and it's helped them out. So it's working. It's really, really good. We have, a great partnership with Leanne and Melody, and it's been really, really good. So, nothing but good things. I think it's needed, definitely. Our workforce is growing. Workforce is growing, not just, we have women on the site now, so it's not like the Wild West of a few years ago. Our language is very colorful, but the culture has to change. So as they get out there, they're going to be, talked to very harshly, and they got to think about when they're in that position, how they're going to talk to apprentices. So hopefully culture changes, and I think this is a necessity across the board. So yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I'm here to answer all the questions you have. And again, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much to all of you. It's really wonderful to hear the successes that you're all celebrating and the depth of the work that you're all doing around the apprenticeship landscape, and really interesting to hear from just graduates to be, basically. So that's really exciting. So I'm going to actually stop my screen share here so that everyone can have a great view of our guests, and we're going to start our panel discussion. And just a reminder that we will be following this up with a question and answer period. So for the moment, we're going to speak directly with our guests, but please, as you're thinking of questions, feel free to throw them in the chat window or hold on to them, and we're going to do our best to get through everybody's questions at the end. So in the interest of fairness, I'm going to approach this in an alphabetical order situation when it comes to our LBS program guests. So I have a few questions for you, and I'm just going to ask you to respond Angela, and then Alicia, and then Megan. And then I do also have some questions, of course, for Carmelo. So first question for our LBS programs. How do you feel that LBS programs can get better connected to and leverage other community partnership relationships to therefore get connected with training delivery agents or TDAs?
Right. So I've been extremely lucky over here in Hamilton. Our support organization has really been doing a lot of work with apprenticeships and really wanted to get the word out that LBS is amazing and you should work with us. And so they did a lot of legwork to kind of get the word out. So TDAs would often approach ABEA, that's our support organization, shout out for ABEA. They would reach out to them to say, hey, we've got this project, and is there someone that is available, that could do some work with us around this? And so ABA would come back to the providers and see like who's available to do some of this work. And so thankfully, we were able to build some relationships with the TDAs through that, which we could then carry on our own year over year. But yeah, so much of that has really come from our support organization, just getting the word out for us, which has been huge.
Thank you, Angela. That's amazing. Alicia.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of overlap between our answers. So I have similar sentiments to what Angela said. But I will say we're using the term TDA, and however, in Brantford at least, Brant Skills Center has also partnered with not formal TDAs, such as our Workforce Planning Board, to offer delivery. So I'm including them in my response here. So what I would say is that it does depend on your community and on your sector. Because I know if you're college-based or it's a different situation. But for us, I think it's important to leverage whatever meetings you can. So for example, Brant Skills Center is part of the Skilled Trades Alliance, which, talks about the trends in the skilled trades and what's everyone delivering and how can LBS be a part of it. And also going to meetings that are for EO providers, because a lot of these things we're hearing are not just LBS or formal TDAs. We're hearing the SDF projects, formerly less trades related, but the SFS projects. We love an acronym in the literacy world. But there's funding and projects all over the place. So going to these meetings and hearing what everybody's up to is a huge piece to this, I think. I think honestly, one of the tips, if anyone's looking to get information, is be vocal about the benefit of LBS here. So we constantly are, hey, don't forget about LBS. We're over here. We are an asset to your program delivery. And I think that's been a helpful piece to this for us, at least.
Cool. Thank you, Alicia. And Megan.
Yeah, it's going to be fun going last, I think, because I'll have a lot of repetition, but I definitely echo first and foremost, leveraging those support organizations and the EO providers like my fellow panel presenters have suggested, but getting better connected with the TDA really for us from a college perspective, we have that advantage because we're part of the college, right? Whitby campus is a TDA, so we're already in regular contact with one. So if we have other college folks who are on here, internally, you can continue to strengthen those connections or even start. Step one, you've got to build those relationships with your department heads, with your faculty in skilled trades, anything that you can do internally with your colleges, whether that be your main site or other itinerant sites, is to increase the profile of literacy and basic skills. Make it easy to create those referral pathways and so you have an opportunity to better integrate your learners into the program. If I'm thinking about our external partnerships, and I think we're all going to speak to this throughout the presentation today, it's all about collaboration and connection. So liaise with your EO providers, look at your employment services, talk to your job developers. These are people who are often working with employers or unions already. They're talking to people who are looking for apprenticeships. So reaching out to your Employment Ontario or your SSM offices, that's going to be a great starting point. I think it was already mentioned, you can connect with your workforce planning and development boards, skilled trades and apprenticeship if there's any working groups in your areas, your economic development offices, and your literacy network. So these groups are going to be people who can really vouch for what we do and the work that we do and help create opportunities. So, for example, our millwright training opportunity that came directly to us from our literacy network of Durham region. Everybody has a literacy network. It's really important to leverage that connection. And then you can partner with your local groups, right? We use Durham Workforce Authority a lot. Talk to your ETC to identify who the TDAs are in your region. Those are all the things that are going to help you sort of expand your reach and then open those doors for collaboration.
Thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, it's network, 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 right? And there's lots of ways to do that. So really great strategies that you've all offered. And it might seem like out of the box thinking, but really it is about really leveraging those partnerships that you're probably already doing a lot of work to maintain because of other goal path learners in your programs, right? So fantastic. Thank you so much. And so Carmelo, over to you. What do you think are the best methods for LBS organizations to form relationships with training delivery agents? How would you want to be approached by an LBS program?
Well, definitely I want to talk to them face to face, and I want to show them our training center and show them our limitations and, that kind of stuff. So that's important. And it's not just the pre-apprenticeship and going into the skilled trades. There's people that are in the trades that could use this program. So, like we offer programs for the weekends for training of, forklifts and working at heights and that kind of stuff. But I think you can probably get the unions to, throw a program together for, enhanced math skills or, some soft skills. So, I mean, we got locals everywhere. Not all of them are TDAs because the colleges will have the TDAs, but these locals do have members, and there's lots of members. So maybe approaching them and asking them if they're interested in, throwing a program together and, 2 or 3 day workshop or something like that. Probably, during the winter months when it's a little slower in construction, that could be something. But definitely I'm a TDA. I have two pre-apprenticeship classes, and I look forward for them to take this in the very first 2, 3 weeks of the program so that we understand what level they're at and in mathematics and literacy so that we can make the groups that we need to make so that they're not one big strong group. So it helps us out, and like I say, we get good feedback from our guys and girls. So that's how I would do. I would visit the unions and see if there's an opportunity there.
Amazing. Thank you, Carmelo. Yeah, and you raise a really great point as well about reskilling, right? So we know technology is changing, and in a lot of the skilled trades, there's a greater need for things like digital skills, right? And so those opportunities to support that reskilling to keep the workforce working and help with that continuous professional development is a really great opportunity for LBS programs as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to head back over to Angela, Alicia, and Megan. And Megan, I heard what you said. So we're going to switch it up this time. We're going to go in reverse alphabetical order. I'm going to really make your brains think now. So figure out who's going after Megan. So what would you like to see, Megan, when it comes to TDAs and collaborations? What would you like to see?
No problem, Jan. And I can almost guarantee that me, Angela, and Alicia are all going to have very similar answers to this. But when it comes to collaboration, I think what every LBS provider wants is to be brought into the conversation right from the start, right? So a lot of the times there's these programs and they're securing funding and, you know, I think service wide, we sort of feel like LBS is an afterthought and we have so much to offer when it comes to understanding what the participants need even before they start their programs, right? Angela talked about that assessment piece. We're doing those things on the front end to be able to offer comprehensive programming. So try as much as possible within the constraints that you have as TDAs and service providers to sort of give us as much runway and floor as possible to build those skills with your participants before they're taking a deeper dive into the next steps of their programming, right? So get involved with your LBS agencies sort of right from the beginning, right from the planning and proposal process. That way, we have suggestions and expertise on how do we design these programs that are looking at obviously the technical skills that the participants are going to need, but also the essential skills, the soft skills, the durable skills that are really going to set people up for success in the trades. So I would love to see, us being able to position ourselves where we can provide the most support, not even maybe just up front throughout the journey. We talked about, it's one thing for them to get development, then maybe they're learning a technical skill and they need to sort of backtrack and get some additional support. So I think there are a lot of great industries and service providers that do recognize the value that we bring, but we're really here to support the same participants and ensure that they're kind of, prepared to succeed.
Amazing. Thank you, Megan. And I'm going to help you out. Alicia, you're next.
The middle is a good place to be. I'm okay with that. I will keep my answer very brief so that we don't overlap. I would just say consult us, ask how we can help, include us in applications, and follow through on that inclusion. We are teammates, not competition, and we do not slow things down at all. In fact, we make training more effective. That's all I would add, I think.
Thank you, Alicia. And Angela.
Yeah, I definitely will second, third, the comments on communication. It has to be open and ongoing. And one of the things I would like to add is make sure, as part of those open communication conversations that you're having, is really making sure you're balancing each partner's needs. We each have maybe different funding requirements and things like that that we need to make sure that we're achieving. So having really clear communication about like what do we need, in terms of assessments and things like that. Registrations, it can be a lot of extra paperwork, but kind of being upfront with making sure that those things are clear. So yeah, really a partner that's open to having those dialogues and making sure we're kind of covering everyone's bases is really important as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Angela. Yeah, and I'm really pleased to say that as your literacy networks, and I know I can speak for multiple networks when I say this, we really are really trying to achieve support around helping you get connected to training delivery agents. So, those partnership development, toolkits and work that's happening out in the community is really for you, right? Really to support and strengthen the LBS system as a whole. And we are also advocating very hard on the whole system's behalf to try to help ministry representatives and other important parties to understand how important it is that we have access to information around, for example, who our approved training delivery agents are, so that we can create those collaborations. So just know that we're working hard on that on your behalf in the background. Carmelo, back over to you. What do you feel are the reasons that collaborations between LBS and your pre-apprenticeship programs have been so successful? What is creating that success?
Great instructors in LBS with patience is good. That's a good start because you're jumping in between 18-year-olds and 50-year-olds when you're doing a pre-apprenticeship. So they're all over the place. So once you read the room and figure it out, it's very appreciative. But communication is really cool. We have to be on the same page. With the math skills is always a problem. So, what I want to make it so that it's relevant to what we're doing. So we're not going to teach the functions or the algebras. We just want, we're going to teach them math, but we want you to just introduce it to them. So that level of math will be, talked about before we even start. So a good understanding, good communication, flexibility is all important. And, you know, because you're more involved with the apprentices before we even get to them. We interview them, and then, you know, LBS has them for 2 weeks just about. So that's how our program works, and it seems to be working really well. And like I said, the graduates appreciate it and their efforts. They might not realize it, you know, the first year and be like, oh, you know, it's construction. We don't need this, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we want to change that culture. We want to change it so that you want to go to work and have a pleasant day and not the Wild West of the English language. So, those are the main things. You got to have, you know, patience, understanding who you're dealing with, and good communication is very, very important and very appreciated.
Excellent. Thank you, Carmelo. Yeah, and I'm hearing you say, along with all of those things, the patience and the communication, also, you know, a willingness to sort of contextualize the learning, right? So, for example, with the math that you were talking about, if you can help a learner understand, you know, the reason that you need to understand decimal points or fractions is because you're going to be using a tape measure, or you're going to be trying to figure out how many pieces of wood, and you're going to be dividing those pieces of wood, right? Giving them that context really then is going to really benefit them in the long term in the learning that they're doing.
Yeah, the instructor wants measuring tapes on the table, so it's right away it's relevant to what we're going to be doing. So it's a
Absolutely.
nice tool. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well,
All right, we're going to go back over to Angela, Alicia, and Megan, and this time in alphabetical order once again. So we're going to start with Angela. What do you feel are the best strategies for maintaining strong relationships with training delivery agents? And I think we've heard a couple already around, you know, communication, but do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, a couple. So just to kind of go on the communication piece, just being present during the programs as well as your program partner. Just kind of being around, touching base. It just creates an opportunity to informally touch base about how learners are doing. Sorry about that. About how learners are doing, and allows you during the program to make those like little in-program adjustments. If a learner needs some different type of support, or you see they're you know they may be struggling with something, you can kind of brainstorm like what can we do for this participant to support them, and then doing a debrief of the program as a whole afterwards, so you can think ahead to next time. What do we want to do differently? And sometimes that's sometimes I can say, you know, 1 week seems really quick for math. You know, can we build out a second week? Is that possible? And so they go back and explore that. Or, you know, do we want to, you know, make more like structural changes for the next time? And the other, I would say, for maintaining strong relationships and kind of getting things off on a good foot is if you're engaging with a TDA who's maybe like new to running a pre-apprenticeship or new to working with LBS, um, really, really making sure that we can like take the lead as the expert in this particular area in terms of like knowing what some of the logistics are, the pieces that we need to consider, having an idea of how, like how long do we need to really like make an impact or like cover some of the content. Just having some of that readily available can kind of help guide the process. I found that in particular with a new partnership that we're working on right now is like we haven't done this before. What do you recommend? And so kind of having some of that, okay, well, we need, you know, time for this, and we need to like think about, you know, what are the requirements that you're hoping us to meet, and kind of get some of those pieces. So that can really help make a smooth transition into the program, but also sort of build connections early on as you're navigating some of those things. And there's lots of experience out there. So if your LBS program is new to the partnerships, there's lots of resources to help you fake it till you make it, so to speak.
I love that, Angela. Thank you so much. Alicia, your thoughts on best strategies for maintaining strong relationships?
Yeah, I'm sure we're noticing a theme here, which is communication, I think. This is really, it's the biggest piece. I think if we understand the requirements that we have as LBS providers, we talked about it, we got to get the assessment. Yes, there has to be a milestone. Yes, there has to be a minimum amount of training, etc. But also, what does the TDA need? So what are their timelines? If they have to get a certain amount of people through and we're slowing things down, we're going to hinder the process. So communicating what we all require, open conversations about participant needs as well. Does someone need a reader to come and help them? Do they need extra one-on-one support later, etc.? I think we also need to remind each other about the benefits that we all offer, because when we see it, the learners see it. So if I see, yeah, the document use is getting them all ready, they know how to use a computer, and then I'm hearing their hands-on experience within the classroom is so wonderful. We're all showing the learners united front and the benefit of the training. I think the other thing is anticipate the need. So again, we're leveraging these groups. We know that training is coming up. We know you've got an SDF coming. Do you need LBS to get in on that? How can we support your learners? How can we be there? And asking before it's even running is often a really good thing. It also helps our schedule selfishly, but it's mutually beneficial, eh? And I think the last sentiment here is that, you know, during the pandemic, if anyone's been doing LBS during that time period, a lot of things were being done virtually and it was not easy. And of course, it was in the interest of safety. But as we've come out of this, and we're doing things in person again, putting in the FaceTime with the TDA and the learners, of course, it's so important that we were doing those casual check-ins, like Angela had mentioned, getting to see the different training rooms. For example, at SNP in Brantford, they've got a full kitchen. They've got a welding shop. I go over there and they're like, do you want to try a taco? Yes, of course I do. So it's really fun to get in with the TDAs and see what do they got going on. And the learners are thrilled to show off their newfound skills. So I think it's all with communication, but being there in person is so fun too. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Alicia. And Megan.
I think I'll just echo what everybody's saying about communication, right? How do we maintain strong relationships? Well, we clearly and consistently communicate with each other. So if issues are coming up, you know, we're tackling those as they come up in the moment. So for example, in some of our pre-apprenticeship programs or maybe our mill writing programs, the faculty that we deploy to do this work with the students sends our team weekly summary reports, sends the TDA team weekly summary reports of here's how the participants are doing. Here's, you know, right off the bat, maybe this person's struggling with this. How do we action this plan out for this person? And this was already touched on too, making sure everyone is clear on their role and responsibility, right? The TDA has obligations, we have obligations. So have those detailed conversations early about logistics. How are we registering? How are we telling people about the LBS component, right? So I think sometimes it also gets thrown around like people will join these programs and say, well, I don't think I need math upgrading, so I'm not going to attend the first 2 weeks and I'm just going to jump into the program later. Well, this is a mandatory component as part of your training. Here's how it's going to help you. So making sure that we're thinking about, you know, not that you want to plan for things to go wrong, but think about how you're going to have those conversations. Stop the confusion right off the front. That's all going to contribute to that smooth process. And I think when you're looking for, you know, opportunities or you have a connection with a TDA and you're saying, okay, well, will this run every year? Will this run every 6 months? Stay engaged with those individuals throughout the year, right? Continue to advocate for your LBS site to be included in those future initiatives. And after the project ends, the training ends, connect with your TDA sites, your partners, whoever it is that you're working for, and build in the time to debrief, right? What went really well? What can we improve on? Do a little SWOT analysis. How can we learn from this experience and make our future collaboration better? They're going to see that and be more likely to buy in if we're sort of upfront saying, okay, this part didn't go so well. How can we sort of make those improvements to move forward? In terms of communication, I think also there's a lot of people who have their hands in the pots in order to make this project a success, right? So have your point person who sort of has those weekly check-in meetings with you. There's many people who are involved in making the programs a success. So make sure you know who to talk to and when, and celebrate your successes. Showcase LBS. Like we have sort of these completion ceremonies that the Millwright Regional Council puts on, and they get all the hot shots and superstars and in one room and they take lots of photos and, it's sort of a media day. And make sure that your LBS representatives are there. Take photos with your candidates who have successfully completed your programs and share it widely. Post it on your social media, get it up on your LinkedIn. Just celebrate the successes of the work that you're doing, because that's going to help disseminate that information and just really showcase the great work that we're all involved in.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, we got to toot our own horns, right? And we're not always so good at that, right? We got to say, like, this is what we can do. This is the power we have. This is the support that we can offer. So maybe start thinking of yourselves more as rock stars, because you are, and get your social medias going and put that out there, right? So thank you so much. So I'm looking at the time and I can't believe where the time has gone, but we're already at 1:50. And I do want to give everybody an opportunity to ask their questions and get some answers. So I'm going to invite anybody who's got a question to please raise your hand or unmute. And while we're waiting, I'm also going to just check in with Jeff and see, Jeff, did you see any questions in the chat window?
Hi, Jan. No questions in the chat window, so go ahead and put it up to the floor.
Awesome. Okay. So does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Again, you can feel free to throw it in the chat window and we will read it out for you. So we'll give you a minute, recognizing it takes a minute sometimes to type out those questions. But if you'd like to ask out loud, please feel free to unmute and ask away. Right, I'm not seeing any questions so far. So I do have one for Carmelo, though. I'm wondering, Carmelo, could you share how your program is structured? And I know that it's very unique to each training delivery agent. I think you mentioned that you do your 2 weeks of LBS right up front. But could you just maybe elaborate on that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, so Layuna's got pretty much all the TDAs for construction craft workers. So we have like 11 training centers right across Ontario. And, we get together quarterly and we have discussions and all that. But some are, our program is 10 weeks long, but it doesn't have to be just pre-apprentice. You can do this program during level 1, or the very latest level 2. So, but we like to introduce it so that right away. So, like the third day they're after we've taken assessment of them, then we have soft skills come in the morning, and then we get them for 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon and bring them back to our curriculum, and we have math, I think, twice in the afternoons for 4 or 5 weeks. So that's spaced out a little bit more, but yeah, we do it, and we do that twice. We have 2 cohorts. We have 36 students, so we do it right away, and it seems to work. And it's like I said, I talked to them this afternoon, and they say, "Yeah, I keep doing it." So,
Thank you, Carmelo. And I did see a note here that Megan also has a question for Carmelo. What did you want to share?
Yeah, sorry, not to hog the floor, but Carmelo, when you were talking about, you say, okay, LBS sites should approach the unions. And I don't know, even coming from a college perspective, our LBS site is still fairly small, and we can't always leverage the connections that the college has to go to the unions. So do you have any recommendations for sort of getting some buy-in with the union? So, a lot of the time you Google, okay, plumbing union, Oshawa, for instance. You get directed to a website. It has a general phone number or a little form that you can fill in. How do we get in touch with the unions? Do we call the general phone lines? Do we visit in person? If we're going to go in person, what sort of materials should we bring with us so that way we can make the best impact when we're there?
well, I mean, like I said, we have our meetings quarterly, and we're always looking for guest speakers. So, being a guest speaker to one of the meetings for when they coordinate stuff, that would be one. Going to the training centers and actually trying to find out who you're supposed to talk to if that's not on the website. That too. But some like not all unions have training centers, but they do have training. So visiting the locals, you know, and just putting a face to what you're doing. And, you know, I know it's hard, and but they have monies available for this kind of training too. But there's safety meetings that could be approached as a guest speaker. Like IHSA in every county has a meeting once a month, and they get all, you know, all the safety guys together. But you're just putting a seed in and seeing what you're doing, and then maybe word will spread to that kind of stuff. Um, so there's committees, and you know, they might be not relevant right away, but they're 2 or 3 stages away from being relevant, and just a word of mouth. So that could be something.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carmelo. Yeah, so really just about, again, what we were talking about before about creating those connections, right? So understanding that you might not right away be supporting a full pre-apprenticeship program, but by getting connected and offering to maybe do a small presentation or participate in a discussion amongst locals, you can share, you know, what you can do to support, what you can do to support not only pre-apprenticeship programs, but things like reskilling and upskilling, right? So lots of different ways to approach and create that collaboration, or at least that knowledge that you exist and that you're there for the future, right? Excellent.
Hi, Jan. We do have one question now from the chat room.
Wonderful.
Adria would like to know, which soft skills topics do you find the most valuable for trades readiness?
For me, it's how do you communicate, how to answer back, you know, to somebody that's belligerent on the field, and you're new and you're not used to this, and you know, those kind of reactions. I think that's important. Writing skills is important, so that when you're doing documentation, it's legible. It's that's also but I think communicating on how to respond to, I mean, construction is different. You can't get away with the stuff that they do out in the field, and you can't talk to people the way they talk to, and sometimes it's a culture shock to a lot of young people going out in the field, and you know, they do one simple mistake and a guy loses his mind and yell at him. So you know, we do it as a training center and let them know that, hey, you know, it's the difficult situations, but you know, when we introduce LBS, that kind of, you know, solidifies it to them and says, you know what, this is how I should respond. But maybe I shouldn't respond, but I'm never going to talk to somebody the way that guy's talking to me, type deal. So I think that, how do you respond to somebody like that, like less educated than you, but has a lot more skills and never went to school, and he's yelling at you for being dumb, and you know, you got a college degree. And so just understanding, like, okay, be aware of these surroundings. Yeah, you might have made a mistake and this guy went nuts. So, you know, just let him vent, and, you know, and he'll cool off and that kind of stuff. So I think that kind of soft skills is really, really the important part.
Thank you so much, Carmelo. So I see that there might be a couple more questions in the chat, but I also see that we're at 1:58 and our webinar is wrapping up here shortly. So what I'd like to do is just resume the end of the presentation here. And what I'd like to suggest is we will be glad to capture the remaining questions that are coming into the chat window. So please continue to share, and we will do our best to seek some answers to those questions for you and get them back out to you following the webinar. So this was a really wonderful and informative discussion, and thank you again to all 4 of our guest speakers for giving your time and joining us today and sharing your perspectives on establishing and maintaining collaborative relationships and partnerships. I do want to quickly share some resources with all of you that I feel very confident you're going to find valuable in the work you're doing. Ahead of sharing those resources on the screen and in the chat, I'm hopeful that you'd all be willing to share your thoughts about today's today's session with us. I recognize that we tend to just be over inundated with the surveys, but your feedback is incredibly valuable to us to ensure that we're offering information and support that's meaningful to you. We've kept it really short and sweet. There's only 2 questions to answer. So if you could please follow the QR code that's showing on your screen using your camera, or the QR code scanner app on your phone, or if you could use the link that we're providing in the chat, we'd really appreciate your feedback. So now for those resources that I've talked about a couple times today, I want to let you know that LLSC has developed a new LBS toolkit as part of our Step Up and Succeed apprenticeship project. You can access that toolkit using, again, this QR code that's on your screen or through the link that Jeff is sharing in the chat window. The toolkit is still under development, just so you know, but it does have an expected completion date in early February, so just a few short weeks away at the most. So because you did join us today, we did want to share a sneak peek of that resource with you. It's been developed for you specifically by LBS programs to offer additional resources to you in support of learners who are on a path to apprenticeship in the skilled trades. In the toolkit, you're going to find 8 new resources that we've developed based on the feedback that LBS community partners have shared with us in the last year. This includes guides, videos, curriculum documents, and focuses on topics surrounding navigating the apprenticeship process, a day in the life of the trades, exploring your finances and financial supports that are available to apprentices, education requirements for the trades, and lots more. You'll also find something I think is incredibly valuable and of note, which is a navigation guide, which is a curated list of as many of the existing apprenticeship supporting LBS resources that we could find, all in one place. And we know that that's a huge challenge, going out and finding all those different resources. So we've tried to make this a one-stop shop for everything that you could need to support apprentice learners. Also in the toolkit, you're going to find recordings of our past webinars, so please feel free to access those if you missed them. And there will be a recording of today's session made available to you there as well. Jeff also should be, at the moment, uploading a copy of today's slides into the chat window for you as well. And we will be posting that on the website as well. So again, we really value your feedback. We hope that we will hear from you in that short survey. But if in the future you think of any feedback that you'd like to share with us, we're here to support you. Please feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have, thoughts on additional resources that you'd like to see developed should we have the opportunity, and anything that we could do to support you. Even if it's something like coming across additional resources that you'd like shared in that navigation guide we've created. We'd love to be made aware of that and given the opportunity to update that document. You can reach us using the information that's on your screen right now and that Jeff is sharing in the chat window. And I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us today. And thank you again to our guest speakers for your time. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you again.